She's back on Earth. The people don't want her. She's got to find a way to make that right. She's having her Meghan Markle moment right now. That's basically what it is. Like,
okay,
she's here. She's pretty. They said, oh, let's hate on her.
Let's hate on the pretty girl.
It's truly just that simple, and that's what it really is. But
All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of another relaunch. I am Queen Ramonda of Wakanda.
Oh, okay. Oh, hail the Queen. We love that.
Yes.
I am Betsy Braddock.
Did the thing.
Please don't bring that video up. It's a very trying time right now. I can't deal with it. I am Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain.
Viola Davis, my woman king.
Let me tell you, I love Ariana DeBose. Like, I love Ariana DeBose. That is my girl. So when she got announced to be opening the BAFTAs, I was like, yes, my girlfriend's about to kill it. It's about to be like hot. Da, 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 da. I woke up the next morning and I see this clip going viral. I said, shut it down. Shut it down. I don't know what was going on. I don't know.
She deactivated her Twitter.
Twitter had been deactivated. But shout out to her for like having her moment. But that will not be her legacy. Being her legacy will be the first queer Afro-Latina to win an Oscar. That will remain what we remember her for. This, we're gonna scrap.
I don't know.
We're gonna scrap it.
If Angela Bassett end up winning that Oscar, she kind of is a prophetess for that. So she did the thing.
Lord. It's been a trying time. But I'm glad everyone's having fun. And I'm glad that the stock is rising. You know what that means? More money.
Good for her. Well, wasn't she in
West Side Story?
West Side Story, right. I did not see that. I'm not the biggest fan of musicals.
Okay.
But shout out to her. Anyway, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's snowing here today, which is very exciting. We have not had that in the district in a very long time. Other than that, I've been good. I've been going to the gym. I've gotten to that awkward phase. I think I was talking about this a little bit a while ago, where none of my clothes are really fitting. I need to like go up. If I was wearing a medium in anything, I need to now be a large. If I was wearing a large, I need to be an extra large. And the problem I have is none of my clothes are actually that right now. So the mediums are like, ooh, so I'm trying to refrain from going outside too much because it hurts.
That's all right. Get some new clothes. Thick era coming in. I love that.
Thick era's coming in. I'm go for. I'm not even gonna lie. It's here. I'm packing on the pounds. I stepped on the scale. I weighed 200. And so it was funny. So when I first did it, I was just trying to see how much I weighed, and I stepped on the scale, and it said 218 pounds. And I was like, oh no. I was like, this isn't right. But I was like, oh, I got my shoes on. I know that's how much I weigh. So
how much did you think the shoes was going to do?
I took the shoes off and stepped back on the scale, and it was like 217.8. I was like, what? I was like, no, that can't be right. I was like, something's not right, but I've accepted it. So we're going with it now.
Thick era. I love it. Mm-hmm. That's great. It's snowing there. That's wild. It's been snowing here too. In LA.
That is wild.
It's been crazy. It's been like raining all day today. The other day it was snowing. So this, I don't know. The world is ending. Where's Storm to fix this?
Morocco.
See? Exactly. We gotta come back down, sister.
I have time for that. Well, I don't know. That sounds dangerous. What do you guys like?
Exactly, it is dangerous. No one here already don't know how to drive because for some reason people here like they use turning signals but don't turn them off for several like lights after they use them, and then they don't like use their horns or no one's paying attention.
Well, Godspeed.
There's no focus, and then now it's raining. That's even worse.
Oh yeah, it's getting bad over there. And you guys like already 2 steps from getting in the ocean. So water.
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
And this city is like not built to even retain a lot of the water, even though we've been through a lot of droughts. So like, but it's been raining a lot, so hopefully this like helps it.
Maybe this will like change the infrastructure a little bit. They'll get on it now. Whether it's like it's doing things in places that it's never done stuff before, so we kind of need to just be prepared for everything.
That's having a lot of faith in society. I don't know if I got it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got it.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's fair.
We'll
Completely.
just have to see when it comes. But all right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into the updates of the week. Some fun stuff, some not so fun stuff. For I know, for our co-host here, we'll get to that. But up first was they announced that Stephen Yeun from he does the voice in Invincible. He was also a part of The Walking Dead. Will be in Thunderbolts in a prominent role. Now, allegedly, some people are thinking that the Thunderbolts are going to be taking on Hyperion, and that Steven might be playing Hyperion. I think that would be kind of interesting. At first, I thought people were just joking, and I was like, I don't know if I really see it for that.
Oh yeah, I
but
definitely
now,
joke.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Is he gonna get big to be Hyperion?
I would hope so.
I was about to say Hyperion's Hyperion's a big dude.
Oh wait, no, not Hyperion. Sentry.
I mean, either way.
Same thing, yes.
Yeah, let's say that's still a very big guy. I don't know if I see that. I did see some theories that he might be playing the Fixer.
Oh.
Or maybe like Mach V, Mach 5, something like that. But I don't really know. I think I'm kind of going into the Thunderbolts with low expectations isn't the word, but
it's my word.
I'm trying to be surprised.
You know why. Y'all know why.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Is that Taskmaster going to be the same?
Let's hope not.
I don't, because like she saved Taskmaster at the end of her movie, so I would assume that has to be a different one, and now they're going to try and do it right.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either. It is the MCU. It's the
MCU. It's good.
You can't never be too sure, but I don't know. I'm just trying to like be surprised. I don't want to have too many expectations of like who I think is going to be what. This Thunderbolts movie is obviously going to be a little bit different from what we know of the Thunderbolts, so I feel like they can surprise us with some stuff. But I wouldn't be mad at like a Fixer type of role for him or something like that. But I like Steven, so good for him. We love it. MCU.
Agreed. Yeah. And to the people guessing that he's going to be Amadeus Cho, be serious.
Is that what people are guessing?
Yes. Amadeus is a child.
I was like, hey, like 10?
Yeah. It's giving racist, but I don't like that. Also, coming out of the movie news, we learned that Aquaman 2 had some screenings, early test screenings with fans, and they did not go well. A lot of the fans were saying that this is the worst DC movie that has come out. And to that, I say that in itself is a feat. So
I was about to say, hey, well, I have two thoughts of that. One, I can believe it, but two, I also don't believe that something's worse than Wonder Woman 1984. But this does have, like Jason Momoa and it's like Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot are like neck and neck. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, again, I can believe it, but I also don't believe it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yes. And like being real, the first Aquaman movie was like, it was not it just was very successful. Which shout out to him. He looked good in the suit. I always give him that. But I don't know, whatever. The whole DCU is rebooting. Who even cares? Let's get it over with and like then they can recast. I have been a fan of recasting Aquaman for a very long time.
You said it while the first movie was coming out. While they were doing reshoots, you were suggesting go ahead, which is why everyone y'all know.
Like
Tini's favorite character is Aquaman, so for him to say that, he's being very real.
Like very real. I said from the moment he announced they was Aquaman, I said, let's do it over. Let's start. Don't even shoot the movie. Just get back to it.
He also just like was just himself. Like
that's what he is in every movie. He can't act.
He just tall.
I'm about to get mad. But anyways, well, whatever. Let the movie come out. Let it have its moment to do whatever, to fail, to flop, to succeed and be successful again. Cool. I I know they're maybe trying to play with the idea of a trilogy. We don't need to do that.
There were talks of a trilogy. I also was under the impression it would have been kind of a part of the like previous regime, but during that video that James Gunn put out about the whole DC Studios that we talked about recently, you know, he said that that movie's a part of like the timeline here. So it looks like it's here to
Scrap it.
stay. Hopefully they just do. You know, they should just start it all over. Just you're never gonna do it right if you just keep trying to pull what you like from before. Just start fresh. You just got to.
I agree. It's also just, I don't know. I just don't think we need any more Jason Momoa or just like anything that kind of like references the Snyderverse and all that other stuff. We're past it.
Agreed. Let it go. Let's all just move on. All right, y'all. Well, then that's all we have this week. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come right back.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Comics and Other Review section of the show. A couple of mentions, of course, to start out. She-Hulk number 10 was out this week, and that was the follow-up issue. You know, Jack of Hearts died in number 9, and so we've kind of been seeing her deal with that. She gets like a "you up" text from Thor at some point in the issue that she responds to. It tells him to come over. So she's sad, so she's having a moment there. It's a very heartwarming. Yeah, it was. I think he might come back though. We'll see. The Magic Order 4 number 2 came out this week. That's from Mark Miller and Dyke Ruin. I've really enjoyed all of the various iterations of this book, but Dyke Ruin joining for this volume, his art is so good. He's such a child of like Quapel, and he really shines here. He can bring so much energy to it. He looks good. Really great stuff. And
I've
Strange
been seeing that a
Academy.
lot on my timeline. I must follow a lot of Magic fans because a lot of people
Yeah.
were posting pages from that book. I've seen it.
It just looks good. It's so intense, and like these first 2 issues have been just like nonstop action. Like the villain's kind of making her big move, so she's coming after the Order, and they're just like killing everybody and attacking them. It's just like whoa. It's really good. And then even more Magic Strange Academy Finals number 4 came out this week as well. That's kind of like telling the story of the like that class and like finishing out that run. I kind of tap into the Strange Academy kids sometimes. They're fun.
Look at you liking kids.
I know, that's so different, right? And it's really, I just think it's because those 2 that are the kids of Enchantress. I'm just so kind of like, I don't understand how you 2 exist. So I gotta, it's like I gotta follow to see how this goes. But getting into the main books of the week, I only have one really big book that came out for me that I wanted to discuss, and that was Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain number 1, from Tini Howard and Vasco Georgiov. This is it. This is like
a solo.
This is
your girl, Captain Britain.
This is Betsy's like first solo. Got her name in the title and everything. Let me just say, and the logo is cute. We'll start there actually. The logo is very cute. The sword through the A's, like it looks good. Seeing the BB, CB, it's nice. It gives a little like British feel. I feel like when you do the acronyms and things like that. But let's go ahead and get to the issue. So we start out, Betsy is doing a press tour. She's talking to this news guy, and they're slandering her, of course. Micromax is the opposition for some reason. He's like running a podcast where he talks about Betsy and like all the stuff dealing with Britain and the politics and her being her Cohen and blah, blah, blah. In the middle of the interview, she gets a call from one of the other Captain Britons in the universe, so she's got to leave. There is this really interesting data page from this site called The Reflector, the UK's most trusted source for news, entertainment, and more. And they're doing like this huge hit piece on Betsy. So they're in there talking about, you know, oh, she's a body stealer. She worked with X-Men and X-Force. Of course, a lot of this is to give the reader just an info dump about like her character and some history and some stuff, especially with her and Brian and things like that. But it was just interesting to me to think of like, oh, the public knows that she was a part of X-Force. That's kind of bad.
That's really bad.
Very murderous in that. But you know what I'm saying? But inside of that, like, you just get some really interesting bits there. She goes to help the Captain Britain, the dinosaur T-Rex character. They fight a Fury. Rachel is there. She does this thing where she where she taps into the multiverse to create like a Phoenix Fire Blast. I don't really understand how that worked, but I don't understand how a lot of things with Rachel work. Nonetheless, we go back to Earth 616. Betsy is talking to Brian about like the Furies, and he's kind of back in the lab getting all the stuff. We keep seeing that they're facing like earthquakes or something. We come to find out that Jamie has used his powers to shrink the mansion, the Braddock mansion, and he has moved it to Braddock Isle. And that's like now where they live. They've got a gate there so they can travel back and forth, and that way Betsy can do more stuff in Britain since they don't need to be in Otherworld as much anymore, since they've dethroned Maryland and the provinces kind of like govern themselves. She goes back to Otherworld to deal with like the Furies, but while that's happening, we find out that Micromax has also been working with Morgan Le Fay and Coven Akaba. And he's kind of like a big part of the reason why Betsy's getting some of the opposition, because Morgan is basically like, the people of Britain don't understand what Captain Britain really does. They think she is just a hero for the people. They don't really understand the real reason of how she protects Otherworld and how Otherworld is based off like all of the imagination and energy of the British Isles and all of that kind of stuff like that. So she's like, we need to give them someone who they're actually gonna like, and we need to take Betsy out. So she is kind of the one planning her attacks on the various corps and working with Micromax to do his hit piece on her. While that's going on, Betsy has gone to the Fury homeworld and Otherworld, and she's like, one of your people is attacking my people. You need to get that together. Rachel starts doing some snooping around, and she actually finds the Union Jack flag hanging up in their corridors, which was kind of strange. I was like, oh, look at the the Furies with the flag. That's weird. But you go about it. There was like this one little weird part about this, and it kind of reminded me of what Dugan did in last week's X-Men. Remember when I told you Jean had did like that big telepathic ping, and then all of a sudden, a few issues later, Scott couldn't find her? So in this issue, Betsy teleports to Otherworld, obviously using like the Captain Britain ability. She's kissing Rachel while she does it. When they start getting attacked by the Furies, Betsy makes a comment. She's like, oh, I can't teleport right now with the Furies staring at me. And it's just kind of like, what is it? What you mean? Like they looking at you so you can't teleport? You can't concentrate? You was just kissing somebody and doing all this stuff, but then look, whatever. It was just a weird little thing that happened to me. But nonetheless, Rachel does something. They get out. They get away. Pete Wisdom has come to the Braddock Manor. He's talking to them about like strike and stuff. Betsy says she wants to get their help with dealing with Coven Akaba and Morgan Le Fay. We get to like nice little bedroom scene with her and Rachel, and she again is kind of just talking about all the things that she wants to do with them and like move them into the mansion. She's like, oh, but security might not be good if we do that. Maybe we can move into a Braddock country house. We'll set up a network of gates, get Sage to do some stuff that she can track it. Rachel's like, you're asking me? I don't know. They have sex. We go on. We see the strike agents again. They've met with Phaedra Hussein, who has the Excalibur sword. She's a character from the Captain Britain MI13 series for the people who read that. She pops up. She's kind of like the reader input to like for the info dump about who Strike is and just kind of introducing us to them. She talks about how she's a fangirl, but she's also like a supporter of Captain Britain. And she's like, you know, the people of Britain don't really always recognize me as well and say I'm a real Brit because of how I look. So I get it, you know, feeling some support there. So she's writing, I'm here for that. Morgan has set her plan in place. The Furies are attacking another Captain Britain. Betsy and Rachel go to save her. All the other Captain Britain corps show up. Morgan shows up. She's like, great, I can kill you all right here and put my new captain into place. Betsy's like, you know, no Captain Britain will turn against her sister. Morgan's like, I don't know about that. And then the final page is like a Captain Britain walking out, but the face is cut off. You can't see who it is. And that's probably going to be whoever put in place. So that was the first issue.
Okay.
I wonder
if that's going to be Captain Carter.
So one of the theories that I've seen going around is people actually think it's going to be Lizzie Braddock, and that's why Captain Carter shows up in the second issue. Like, you know, she's on the cover for 2, so they think like, oh, you know, Lizzie was not she's a Betsy that wasn't a Captain Britain already. She wouldn't really know like about how any of that stuff works. Morgan could obviously get her. That's why Captain Carter shows up, which I think would be cool. Lizzie Braddock was hot. She was the Dawn. I'm sorry, I stand.
She was fun with her bob. Yeah, we'll see them fighting each other.
I hope the hair is longer if it is her. She can come back. But nonetheless, that was the first issue. I thought it was kind of fine. I'm not gonna
Okay,
lie to you. I didn't hate it. I think,
that's
you
great.
know, we've been dealing with Tini on Betsy for a very long time now. This is like year 4, I think, almost. And I think I've just really become accustomed to like the way Tini writes. I think her dialogue, it's not very flowery in a
Mm.
sense. It's very kind of straight to the point. It's very warm. It's very, there's a lot of emotion behind it, or at least there should be. That's what you kind of expect, you know. And the Betsy she's writing is a little bit different. I will say that I think this is probably my favorite version of Betsy that she's written so far. She feels a little bit more proactive. She's actually doing things. Like I said, she comes in, she sets up stuff with Pete Wisdom and Strike. She's already in the play of like, okay, I know Coven Akava is probably behind some of this stuff. Let me go see what's going on there. Let me go talk to the Furies. Rachel and her relationship, I see the vision. I really, really, really do. And I'm a person, I'm not one of those people who think Rachel and Kate should be together. I'm not a fan of tropes where like the best friend secretly reveals they're in love with another person. And then B, on top of that, I think that there should be like a healthier balance of queer relationships in both the romantic and platonic aspect. And I think Kate, Rachel, Magic, that's like a nice little gay girl gang. And I'm all for different characters like getting together. I was actually a fan of like when Hawkeye and Spider-Man were dating. I thought that was weird and different.
Okay,
So when it comes to Rachel and Betsy, I can see it. I see some stuff in there. I will say here though, I just don't buy it. I don't think Tini writes Rachel well enough to make the relationship like
feel
exciting.
authentic.
It doesn't feel authentic. And then I think Rachel kind of feels like a non-entity here. Honestly, she feels just like she's here to be Betsy's girlfriend, a side character. Like I said, there's this entire page of them getting into bed together, and Betsy's talking about like, oh, you know, I'm going to send Pete this intel about what's going on. Like, let's put Strike here. We can do this. Da da da. Rachel, what do you think? And Rachel's like sitting there playing her game, losing at that.
Wow.
And then she's like, oh, you're asking me. Let's wait till tomorrow. And then that goes about it. Like when they go, she's, I don't know, she's just kind of an artist. She doesn't really have her own personality. And then I think about the way that Tini has written Rachel previously and the issues that she's appeared in. And it's just kind of like, I don't see it. However, I do think it's a relationship is a really big deal for both characters. So I think it should get like a good year. Let people play with it. Let people have their fun. Maybe someone will write it that makes it gives a little bit more spark. I also think that they still should break up eventually, if only for Rachel's sake. I feel like Rachel being confirmed as canon queer character is a bigger deal than it was for Betsy. Betsy dated Cluster, and I know people always try and like downplay that to be like, oh, it's just Phantom X, blah
That's
blah
Max.
blah.
Yeah.
And like, nah, she was munching. With Rachel,
See.
she's never really had like any big relationship. So I think for this moment for her to come out and then be saddled with like Betsy as her only relationship for the rest of her comics career would be a really big disservice to that character, like anything she does. But like I said, I see the vision, I see the potential. I think you should give them a good year, test it out. It's a good PR relationship.
Okay. Good for them. I think they don't look bad together, and I see the vision. I
You
see
see
the
the vision, like you can,
yes.
I can feel it. Like I feel like when there's if some fan art starts coming, if they got like some different costumes, also maybe that could help a little bit. You know, there's some stuff there that could be worked with, but I just don't think it's really going to ever pop under this writer, and that's just that what it is. I think the plot of the book itself feels a little bit like more condensed and like concentrated than it has. Obviously, like this is really just about Betsy and like the UK politics and the British side of that all. She's back on Earth. The people don't want her. She's got to find a way to make that right. It's she's getting her. She's having her Meghan Markle moment right now. That's basically what it is. Like
Okay.
she's here. She's pretty. They said, oh, let's hate on her.
Let's hate on the pretty girl.
It's truly just that simple, and that's what it really is. But you know, we got 5 issues of this, so I'm gonna write it out to the. And I will say the art was kind of disappointing, which was a big shock to me. I've seen this artist on Twitter before. We had talked about him, have like thought about trying to get a commission piece from him. He does really good work, but here the faces were a little rough. Some of the proportions, excuse me, were off. I try and not give it too much. I also understand he's very new to comics. Like I don't think he's done much work at all. So like obviously there's going to be a learning curve. He's going to get better. He's going to grow. But I do think a lot of what I've seen of his that I really liked was kind of portrait cover stuff. And so the
Mhm.
sequential stuff is obviously going to be a little bit different. We'll see how it goes. It was just a little bit disappointing, but obviously for a new artist, I think it looks very good. The wide shots, it looks really good, but it's just those faces get a little wonky. But I'm gonna stick with it. I didn't mind it. I think again there's still some usual teeny ticks on her dialogue and how she writes. I think if you've never enjoyed anything from her, then you're not going to. I think if you've been able to tolerate it, I think if you're also a longer term Betsy fan, there's still some kinks that you're gonna see in the writing and like how she writes Betsy. But I think she's doing a little bit of a different version. This is like a very heroic champion Wonder Woman esque type of vibe for Betsy, and I don't think a lot of people are used to that. But I think it's just something that you're going to have for this particular story. I don't think it's going to be something that continues forever, but everyone has different takes on characters, so we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of excited to see what happens after it's all done, though. I think when you get to the grand scheme of things with Betsy, you've had the big otherworld story. It might have been mid. I'm not here to talk about the execution, but in the grand scheme of things, you had it. She had it. And now with this, you seem to kind of be returning to the aspect of her on Earth and like Captain Britain and all the other things that she does and what she can do. So I'm interested to see how they build upon that for that.
Yeah.
All in all, I would give this issue a 3.25 out of 5.
Okay, that's solid.
Solid. Like, it's readable, it gets the point across, the art does the job that it needs to do. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, that's not bad then. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Captain
I
Britain,
understand.
Betsy. I don't know. We just gonna have to see where the cards fall later for
We're
me and Betsy.
like truly, I feel like that's truly what you gotta do. It's like, and again, I understand it. I'm a Betsy fan. This has been my favorite character for a very long time. I talk to Betsy fans all the time. I understand both sides of it. I understand that if you have been a fan of Betsy and you've been reading comics for a really long time, why this doesn't work for you. I understand why it can be a little bit jarring. I understand that if you're not super familiar with Betsy and this is your first time reading her, I can understand why you like it. I can understand why you see the vision. I can understand that if you were like kind of familiar with Betsy, but you never really got into her when she was stuck in that lady's body, and now you get something different. Okay, again, I can understand why you like. I see all the visions of it. I get it all. I think it's just one of those things you just gotta. It's just whether or not you're gonna accept it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know.
And it's interesting to watch though, and I will say like even despite all of this, Betsy continues to be my favorite character, and I've always said it like I've always understood the vision of what's going on. I've always like really enjoyed the aspect of the stuff. I don't even mind the Captain Britain suit. It all just felt very specific to that story, and now that story is coming to an end, and so it's like okay, well when that ends, what else we got? But we'll see. I like the aspect if the rogue Captain Britain that Morgan has, if it's Lizzie, I think that'll be really cool. I like Captain Carter. It'll be cool to see her show up. I've seen some solicits for the future issues. Doctor Doom shows back up. I like Doctor Doom. We're gonna have some fun with it.
Doom is king. Maybe I'll tap.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't know. We'll see.
I'll tell you.
Exactly. Okay, well then that brings us over into the AR club for the week. And again, we had asked some people to kind of write in and let us know what you wanted to read for March because we were taking this month off. And it looks like more people wanted to read Avengers Arena compared to Young Avengers. So we'll be
That's not.
starting Avengers Arena next month. And as some people say they're Young Avengers because of Cassie. You know, she was just in that movie, The Kang.
I don't want anything that reminds me of Cassie in that movie.
That's kind of fair, yeah. And I feel like Avengers Arena, I haven't read that in a while. It'll be interesting to see how I feel about it now. But
It was
starting
dark.
next month, we'll be starting Avengers Arena. So tap into that, y'all. I'm pretty sure it's all on Marvel Unlimited if you have that. Or if you have your own issues, pull them out and read along with us. But for now, let's take a break and then we'll come right back.
Cool.
I'm ready to talk now.
And welcome back.
Yes, welcome back, y'all, to the relaunch section of the show. And okay, this week it was up to me to relaunch something, and I'm gonna get real with y'all. I think it's time to relaunch the way we do editorial in comics. Follow me. Now, I think that for a while, a lot of comics rely on continuity, the stories before them, and everyone has these kind of long form stories. That's kind of what comics are now. But something shifted. Like, I don't know when exactly, something in like the 2000s where it seems as though the stories are less about the characters and more about whatever kind of situation that they're put in. And I want us to get back on track to get into the story. It seems like a lot of the writers are pretty much kind of writing their favorite characters. And this isn't just the X-Men books, but this is like, it seems to be a phenomenon kind of anywhere really. It seems like the stories are more the ideas that the writers have, and they're writing their favorite characters rather than giving the stories that the characters have been like going on and continuing those forward. And I want us to kind of really get back to that, you know.
So you missed some
there
of
was
that kind of like that soap opera aspect of it.
Exactly, yes. I would like to see a lot more of these characters, especially as they are on teams. Not really like the solo characters, obviously, like they're kind of doing their own thing. Um, I'd honestly even say a lot more of the solos right now are being written following the character story. So more so, this may apply to more team books, but it seems like they aren't really telling like the stories of the characters and really getting
And
into
how they
like,
interact and like what their
yeah,
relationship. I can see that. I'll say like a book like Immortal X-Men, which has this council of like 12 people, and each issue's kind of been centered around one character, which I guess can be like a really good thing to get their character piece in themselves. But you want to see it in more of the aspect of like them with other people. So like Exodus, yours your fave. He's on the council with Storm. What are him and Storm interactions like? How do they talk? How often do they disagree? Like, what's their method
do
of
they
going
like
back
each
and
other?
forth? Yeah,
Like,
and then like Nightcrawler and then Exodus and things like that. I see what you're saying.
and even in that situation, again, where you see all these characters and they are put into a certain status quo within the book, I just would like for their personal stories to kind of combat that so we can kind of see how that affects their own personal stories. Like Nightcrawler, why are you even on the counselor? I mean, on the council.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to accomplish while you're there? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does your own personal story have to do with you wanting to be on the council?
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, any other kind of team book, like I would like to see them a lot more interacting with each other and kind of just really pushing their own stories forward rather than just talking about the incident that they're in that moment.
Okay,
You
that's
know,
fair.
and I feel like that might be editorial. I don't know if that's just telling writers like, no, you're writing this and not what you want to write. And I know there can be like a fine line between that and telling a creative what to do. I get that.
I think it's a bit of a mix. I think about, that Bishop War College book just came out recently, and we all talked about that and like how I felt about it. And there was an interview that came out recently from Marvel, and the gentleman, they were asking him, what's your connection to the medium comics and what were your favorite books? And he was like, oh, I love New Mutants. But he's talking about Ayala's New Mutants. And then he's talking about like Bishop reading. They're like, what do you consider the central Bishop reads? And he says, oh, that one shot from when he was trying to kill Hope, the Days and Lives of Lucas Bishop, and then Orlando's Marauders. And it was kind of like, oh, you don't know anything about Bishop. You ain't read a book with this guy a day in your life. And it's kind of, but then as he was talking in the interview, it made it seem more like, oh, this was a Marvel idea. The War College book was kind of popping. They put it out, and they needed somebody to write it. And like they asked me. And so like here I am doing it. And that made a lot more sense to me about it because you have so many new characters that you don't really have to like get back into. You can kind of just do a generic story across the board. You can give Bishop this kind of like generic mean leader type of thing and just build off of that because it's not really about his character. It's just more so about putting this prompt out.
Exactly. And I would rather the story have been about Bishop, not about whatever kind of prompt that we're trying to explore here. I mean, I want us to kind of get back towards that, and it feels like there might be
Some good
editorial.
character driven work. I do think that
Yeah.
I mean I think there are definitely some editorial issues somewhere across somewhere, but yeah, I don't know.
Get us to the stories of the
I
characters.
like
That's what
it.
we're
I
there
like the
for.
relaunch. Like you said, you're relaunching it. You're doing it. What do you think would be something? I guess the editors could do. Do you want to? Do you just want to see like a tighter focus on lines? Do you want to see kind of new talent being brought in and like how that's worked or like seen from the ground
I,
up?
I think there should be a lot more new talent coming in as far as art goes and writing. Because I do think that sometimes people just need a chance. So I do think there should be some scouting of some new work there. But also I think it needs to be tighter. Like I think sometimes, and I don't know, I don't work there, so I don't know exactly how that goes, but it feels as though the reins are a little loose as far as like what the writers get to do and what the like the other creators on the books get to do. And I think there should be just a little tighter where they're really giving this is what you are going to be writing and kind of stay within these lines. Um, Obviously there should be some leeway, but I do think I would like it to say, no, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't want to read a book that is a teen book, but it's really a stealth solo because the writer is self-inserting and just writing their story that they wanted to tell. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
would rather read this
The
teen
team
book
book.
about the team.
Yeah, I understand that. That's fair. I can agree.
So, gear this
Relaunch.
back there, y'all. Hopefully, somebody out there heard it. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the show. Please make sure you guys rate and subscribe us wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Another Relaunch. You can
Mhm.
watch us on YouTube at Another Relaunch TV. You can find me on most social media platforms at UncannyLZ. Keenan, where can they find you?
You guys know you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Keenan Lance. As always, there's an underscore at the end.
All right, y'all, let's get up out of here and we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.
Bye.